have you here.
Yeah, totally.
And I saw you taking pictures. I mean, if you guys actually doing a podcast type thing would be really interesting. You work with so many entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
and it's just a great content medium.
Yeah.
I think the
Yeah, there's a lot.
future with Alexa voice and Google, what is it? Google Home or what am I?
Yeah,
Is that what it is? Google Home?
Yeah.
Yeah. All the I listen to so much audio content now because I can do my shit and listen into it at the same time.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting, and it's such a easy way to consume content. But yeah, it would be something to think about. Having us produce some more content and get other exposure for some of the other members and things like that. But
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah. Well, I mean, these mics aren't crazy expensive, but this thing
Yeah.
works really, really good. I mean, even us just here, instead of having just like you see like normal podcasts,
right, yeah,
where
just
they're
like
up.
lavalier mics.
Yeah,
and
yeah. We've done those before, and this works
pretty
really
good.
well.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. Well, so let's start off. I want to know, where are you from originally, and tell us a little bit about what it is you're doing now.
Yeah,
for people
cool.
that don't know you.
Well, so
Which does anybody in Colorado not know you at this point?
Oh, I'm sure there's a few people, but we've done a good job of getting out there and meeting some people. So, in fact, I've got this every time I order business cards, they come in the cardboard box, and I always save the old boxes, and then as I'm passing cards out, I replace them with the cards that I collect. And Jerry hates it because I have this collection of business cards in the basement, and I think I've probably got 5,000-6,000 cards of people that I've met since we moved here. So
that's one thing that I have noticed doing any sort of in-person networking groups, events, everything in Colorado. I end up walking home with a whole stack of business cards.
Yeah.
I'm like, where the hell am I going to put all these?
Yeah. I actually like paper, and I keep them. But I use an app called CamCard. And then you just take a picture of the card, and it'll scrape the data and put it into a system for you.
Like a CRM, like a mini mobile CRM?
It's not a great CRM. It's really just a place to hold all the card pictures, and then it'll pull the data off. And it's not the greatest for pulling the data off because it uses this optical character recognition software, and it's if you have any sort of weird font, or it's somebody has this funky card, it'll create cursive and stuff, it'll never read any of it. So
right.
It has to be super plain text on a plain background.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have, but
there's got to be something. Well, I don't even know what would be more efficient, but maybe categorizing the image and then being able to file it away and access it through text somehow. Maybe there's some room in the market there for you guys.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so but back to your original question about So I grew up in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I was born in St. Paul and moved around the metro area a little bit, and then spent some time. The town that I consider myself to be from, my hometown, is called Taylor's Falls, and it's a real small town. It's 700 people in Taylor's Falls on the Wisconsin-Minnesota border. So
wow,
yeah, it was a good place.
You'd be surprised how many guests we have on the show that are from small town, 700 person town.
Seven is
tiny.
Really tiny. But yeah, it's a good place to be from. I'm glad I grew up there, but I got the hell out as fast as I could. So
yeah.
Graduated high school and left and went down to the big city, Minneapolis, and and I spent my first 30 years in Minneapolis, or Minnesota, that area, and I left for a little bit to for some business stuff, but moved around and then came out here. It's almost been 4 years, so it was, we bought our house in March of 2014.
Yeah.
So
it's been 4 years in Colorado. That's it?
Yep.
And you've built 18 chapters of your business. So people that don't have context, what do you do exactly?
Yeah, so I own a company called Firestorm, and we're a business-to-business relationship building company, or networking, if you want to call it that. It's kind of the buzzword, but so we organize events and
networking is a buzzword.
It's kind of I think it's gained some popularity, and I look at it like the phrase thinking outside the box in like the 90s. You know, it was like everybody was like, oh, you got to think outside the box. And but nobody knew what the hell that meant. And then it got to the point where...
But it looks good on your LinkedIn profile, right?
Yeah, and then it was kind of like, you know, it got to be this cliche, and people were, you know, kind of made fun of it. And, like, I feel like networking is kind of getting to the same point where everybody talks about networking, like, oh, you got to network, and you got to go to these networking events, but nobody knows what it is and how to do it right. And, you know, it's almost to the point now where, you know, you say networking, and people are, you know, do the hardcore eye roll, and they're like, whatever, man, all right. So
what's the preferred term in your case?
Well, you know, it's tough because I don't necessarily have a better option for it. I've been looking for another term, and you know, thesaurus.com has really helped a lot. So, but it's been the whole
make up your own.
Yeah,
make up your own
make up your own thing.
I do it I do it every day. I make up words that don't exist.
It's I would like to do that. It's just hard to get everybody to, you know, get that into their vernacular, and you know, so like networking is just something that people understand.
Yeah.
So
relationship building.
It's relationship building, and
in person.
In person, yeah. So there's a lot of online ways to do it, but we're strictly in person. And so, I mean, you know, through our conversation, we can get more into the nuances of that. But you know, as at a high level, we're just helping people build relationships, you know, connect, and really, you know, understand who are good strategic partners for them to build a relationship with, and to help them, you know, nurture that relationship and then leverage it to grow their business and get a steady flow of referrals. So that's kind of, you know, what we're up to. So,
yeah. And what brought you to have so much interest or involvement with the networking business?
So if you want to go way back, I feel like I'm genetically predisposed to, you know, be in this type of business. I have a huge family, and so there's a ton of cousins and aunts and uncles, and you know, so I had a lot of experience, you know, navigating relationships as a kid.
Yeah.
And then I moved around a lot, you know, new schools, new towns, and you know, was forced to get out and build new relationships with people. And I'm definitely not like a wallflower. So, you know, the one option is you move around a lot and you just, you know, become a hermit and sit at home and don't do anything, you know, but that's not my style. So, you know, I was out building relationships with people. And as I got into sales, you know, I've been in sales since, I think my first sales job was in 10th grade, telemarketing. And I learned how to...
It's always fun.
It wasn't as bad as some people think, you know, and it gets a bad rap. But it was, you know, cold calling and, you know, just hammering the phone, and and I was good at it, you know, but it got to the point where I'm a big fan of efficiency, and I want to do things, you know, the best, get the most result with the minimum amount of effort, you know. So Tim Ferriss talks a lot about, you know, minimum effective dose, the MED.
Right.
And I'm all about that. You know, I like the idea of, you know, being able to go out and, you know, for a certain amount of input, you want to maximize your results. So when I learned about asking for referrals, and I started to get referrals from people, I was
sales.
like,
and this was in the asking for referrals, this was in your cold calling era, or this was another sales job that you started?
Yeah, so I got out of the telemarketing thing, and I started selling Cutco knives when I was actually 17. I was 4 months shy of my 18th birthday, which technically I shouldn't have been able to start. But so yeah, I started selling Cutco, and then they teach you how to ask for referrals, and when I realized, like, asking for a referral and then calling that person, you know, if I called you up and I was like, you know, hey, Connor, Julius told me to give you a call, there's, you know, the defenses go down and you're automatically more receptive to the phone call, and there's a little bit of intrinsic rapport there because I dropped somebody else's name, and they, you know, you're like, oh, okay, I trust that person, and so I'm going to be able to, you know, trust at least a little bit more this person that's on the other end of the phone versus a straight up cold call. And, you know, I realized that the closing percentage with those names was higher. I realized that they were more, open to the call. They were, the average order size went up. With referrals.
You're recognizing this stuff at 18.
Yeah.
17.
And again, like I'm a total nerd. Like I was on the accounting team in high school, so so I keep track. I keep numbers on everything. And I like.
So you're a math guy, but you have a passion for sales.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah.
unique.
Well, yeah.
A lot of math people.
I don't know that I would say I'm a math guy. I like numbers. I got a finance degree in college, but that it's again going back to this whole minimum effective dose thing.
Right.
I wanted the college degree. I didn't want to work very hard for it.
Right.
Numbers made sense, so I was like.
And C's get degrees.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Although
did your family were your parents salespeople or entrepreneurs? Or was it really the moving around family dynamic that got you so much into the relationship business and someone who enjoyed sales?
Yeah, it's funny because neither one of them are salespeople, and my dad is a mailman, and he makes me look like an introvert. But he's definitely not a sales guy. He could have been a great sales guy, but he wanted to go into radio, and then they got pregnant with me, and so he became a mailman. Anyway, so my mom wasn't really a salesperson, and I think it was partially because I was moving around a lot, and I got good at building relationships, and then some of my mentors when I was younger, in the form of teachers and friends' parents and everything. Inadvertently led me down the path to sales because it was an industry where you can make as much money as you want. There's no limitations. You've got a lot of freedom and flexibility, and it was a skill that if you learned how to do that, and I don't know that I had so much of an appreciation for it back then, but I totally do now. But if you learn how to sell, you are never going to be, wanting for a job. Like you could drop me in, a jungle in Cambodia and I'll figure it out. Like, I'll be fine. So, it's not something that I chose. And if you had asked me in high school what I was going to do when I grew up, sales would have not been anywhere on the list. But here we are.
And I'm in total agreement. And I've talked and harped and emphasized this so much in this podcast already. Like, sales always seems to be the thing that comes up in discussions, but it's such a frowned upon position, but truly it's one of the most honorable positions because business doesn't exist without sales, no matter what kind of business you're in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's, salespeople get a bad rap for sure. And, because
there's shitty salespeople who are uneducated about sales.
Yeah. Right. And if you Google salesperson or typical salesperson, you get these like sleazy, used car salesmen. Yeah.
Glenn Ross.
Yeah.
You've
Totally.
Seen that, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Coffees for closers.
Yeah.
That kind of stereotype is definitely what people think of, but the reality is everybody's in sales, and whether you want to admit it or not, like if you're just a rank and file employee, you've got to sell yourself when you go into a job interview. And, if you are starting a new business and you're an attorney or you're a house cleaner or whatever, you've got to go sell your services and sell yourself, and people don't necessarily consider it sales or don't think of it as sales, but it's totally sales.
Right.
And every time you're going out and conversing with somebody and, trying to convince somebody of your, to come over to your side, your point of view, that's all sales. And, so I don't think, it shouldn't have the bad rap that it has. And,
Well, I'm hoping to change change that too. And,
yeah.
And make Colorado an awesome state full of kick-ass sales people.
Yeah.
But, so, what was your transition from salesperson, or actually, what was your transition? What were you doing at the time before you founded Firestorm?
Yeah. So,
and what was that aha? Like, I need to go pursue this.
Well, first of all, I don't think there was a aha. But I'll tell you, what happened. So, we started Firestorm in 2005, and I say we. It was my friend Chris and I. And we were part of another organization called Grapevine, which was a local thing in Minneapolis that has since gone away. But it was a networking organization, kind of a little bit similar to what we're doing now.
Yeah, and it was B2B, like
it was not B2B. It was more B2C.
Mm-hmm.
And for those people that are watching that don't know the difference, B2B is business to business. Like your client has to be another business, and B2C, your client is a consumer. So the organization that we were part of, I was selling suits at the time. I was a custom clothing maker, haberdasher.
Nice.
And it was a fun gig.
Was he looking classy all the time, 24/7?
I still have a lot of the old suits and stuff. I don't wear them a lot because it's Colorado, and and I own my own business, so I don't have to. But
not to sidetrack, but did you guys meet out in Minneapolis?
That's a big sidetrack.
Yeah, that's a big sidetrack. We'll come back to that.
Okay, all right.
It's actually
there's got to be a good story behind it.
There's a totally good story. It's how we wound up. So I'll sort of segue into that after
around. So do the roundabout.
We, my friend Chris and I started Firestorm because I had gone to the owners of the organization that we were part of, and they had a few groups, and it was a good organization, nothing wrong with it. But I had some suggestions. I was like, hey, we can do this better and do that better, and I went and had a conversation, and they kind of shot down all the ideas, and I was like, that it's cool, it's your business, your choice, whatever. But I'm gonna go do my own thing, and so I got a couple of guys together, and we had some beers and decided to go off on our own and start Firestorm. And so initially it wasn't anything other than I wanted to control the process and do it our way, and so we just started out with happy hours and started getting people together. And
what was it you disliked about how it was Grapevine, right?
Yeah,
that's what it was called. What was it you disliked about that made you decide to innovate it?
Honestly, I don't really remember, and I definitely don't. The word innovate, I think, is a pretty beefy word to use for this,
right? Or create your own version of that.
Yeah, I think as any entrepreneur knows, you kind of get this little itch, and you're like, I could do that better myself, and so I will, and I honestly don't remember what it was that I was.
Yeah, it was just I could do this better.
Yeah.
I got it. And why Firestorm too? Why the name Firestorm?
So again, over beers, we were talking about the name, and this idea came up that we wanted to help people generate referrals. And that's the end game, is to help you grow your business with referrals.
Yep.
And it starts out small, and you've got to put a lot of effort in the beginning, and there's not a lot of results, and then all of a sudden you get something going, and like a firestorm, like an actual firestorm, it starts small, and then you kind of get all this extra debris and crap, and it starts going out of control. And we were thinking of the same thing with referrals. It starts small, and then it starts to build momentum, and then it's something that you can't control, and you're just overwhelmed with this firestorm of referrals. So,
interesting.
So that was where that came from.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it started out as a happy hour. We didn't really have any plans for a business. We just wanted to go do things on our own and get business for our other businesses. So for me, it was selling suits, and for my my friend Chris, it was he owned a title company, and so it was getting mortgage and real estate people together, and selling title insurance. So and then we had a happy hour, I think, and we told the bar that 40 people were going to show up, and I think we had 150.
Wow!
And it was
Now, when was this? About what time was this?
I think it was in the summer of 2005.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so how did you get 150 people in on that?
I don't know.
Must have been a major need for it in the market.
Well, and I mean, we all like to drink beer, and the real estate market was going well. And,
this was still back home. This wasn't in Colorado.
Right.
Yet.
It was, Minnesota. So. So the word spread that and we had some pretty influential people in the real estate business that were friends of ours, and financial services and stuff. So when we started out, it was not a business-to-business organization. When we started, it was, anybody that wanted to come, and, we kind of build ourselves as the cooler version of networking, and, come and have some beers. And then after that, we started to get serious about it, and started to take a different approach to it. Started some regular groups that met on a regular basis, and but it was really just a sideline for the first number of years, and a way for us to get business. And so then I had an opportunity with the suit company to go to Scottsdale, Arizona, to help out with some stuff down there, and so I left, and I went and spent most of 2008 in Scottsdale, and we had a footprint in Scottsdale with Firestorm. And then I came back at the end of 2008 and was going to get back into the suit business. Well, I still was in the suit business, but I was rebuilding my my business in Minneapolis. And, the market crashed at the end of 2008, and a lot of the guys that I was working with...
Real estate biz wasn't so great. No,
real estate business was done, and, the financial services business was done, and we, a lot of my clients were... fairly wealthy guys that had a lot of suits, and they were like, I just lost half my portfolio.
Yeah,
I don't need to buy a new suit right now, or 5 suits or whatever. So I'm gonna just hold off on that for a minute, and call me back in a year.
Yeah.
So my business with the suit thing wasn't going where it needed to go, and so I decided to take Firestorm over full time, and so in March of 2009, that became my full time gig, and I was just putting all my effort and energy into that, and we grew it from, I think at that time we had 4 chapters in Minneapolis in March of 2009, and then I grew it to 30.
Wow.
And
they're still going.
They're not, and we so sort of part of the rest of the story. As is that a Paul Harvey phrase? the rest of the story.
I have no idea. Who's Paul Harvey?
Paul Harvey. Google him.
Okay, all right. Do you know Paul Harvey?
He's an old radio guy.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
he's radio man.
But yeah, so. We grew it to 30 chapters, and then I like to travel. I'm a big travel guy. I'm also a big runner, and I was involved. I was on the board of this nonprofit in Minneapolis, which is a really cool nonprofit called Boulder Options, and it's a activity-based youth mentoring program. Anyway, long story short, we were doing a run in Berlin. We were going to Berlin to run the Berlin Marathon, and it turned out it was.
This is the sidetrack story.
This is yeah, I know. It fits into the timeline. So we, my friend Chris and I, like to drink some beer, as I mentioned before, and so we decided to go to Oktoberfest because it was right around the same time as the Berlin Marathon. So we go to Oktoberfest in Munich, and the first day that I was there, I met Jerry, my wife, who's off camera, and so we met
at Oktoberfest.
At Oktoberfest
in another country.
Yep.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. And
how did you guys meet? It was you saw each other's steins from across the room.
It was a little bit like that, but we had a friend who was also kind of part of Firestorm in Minneapolis, named Thats, and Thats worked for a company called Allianz, which is a big insurance company, and they're based in Munich, but their U.S. life headquarters are in Minneapolis. So Thats worked for Allianz in Minneapolis, and then got transferred back to the mothership in Munich. And so when we went to Munich to go...
And Thats has got to be a German name.
Thats is actually Sri Lankan. Yeah, it's actually...
Took a stab at it.
Yeah, it's short for That Paran Soma Sundaram or something. It's a long name.
Yeah.
Thats is what
he
goes by.
We'll roll with Thats.
And anyway, so Thats had been transferred over to Munich, and so when Chris and I went there... Yeah, so Thats and Jerry were working together at Allianz, and...
But were you working in Munich at the time? Yeah?
Yeah, so Jerry lived there, and they were coworkers, and so we went to...
I haven't had a chance to go to Germany yet.
It's phenomenal.
Been over Europe, quite a few places, but haven't gone to Germany yet.
Yeah, you gotta go.
Yeah.
And spend some time there.
Well,
It's a good spot.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Our design guy, though, he's gone to Beer Fest the last 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And always comes back with the big old Stein.
Yeah.
And it just looks like a blast. It's nothing like what we have here in the U.S. compared to how they do it back there, obviously.
You know, the last time I looked at the stats for it, there's 6 million people there's 6 million liters of beer served. Over about a 17-day period, and I think about 5 million people come to it.
Wow.
Think
of how much beer is consumed in Colorado.
I'm sure it's a ton. It'd be interesting to make
because I
some
think we have more
comparisons about
breweries
that.
than Germany.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
in Colorado.
Yeah. Germany doesn't have, number-wise, doesn't have a ton of breweries.
Yeah.
But they produce quite a lot, and they consume quite a lot. So
right.
And in Bavaria, the southern part of Germany, it's actually technically a food group. The beer is so. Yeah. So
it's on the food pyramid.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Gotta have some good beer.
Yeah.
So we met. I decided to change around my travel plans, and I wound up staying in Munich about a week, and then I came home to Minnesota and sold all my shit and moved to Germany. Mm-hmm. So we lived there for a year.
Wow.
And when I left, so we had all the groups in Minnesota. I didn't really know what was going to happen with Firestorm or what was going to happen with the groups, and I guess I just this was more important to go see about a girl. So so I just took off, and we Firestorm was at a point.
Now, were you guys together at this point when you dropped everything and moved?
I mean,
to Europe?
Together is I don't know, sort of an ambiguous.
It's a bold move, man.
Yeah.
It seemed to work out.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been 6.5 years now. So, but yeah, it was a crazy move. But I had to do it. And
so you dropped all the Firestorm. You had were you monetizing the group at this point?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yep, it was. For those 3 years, it was a profitable business.
Yeah.
And when I left, I had set it up, and my goal from the beginning has always been to